let's dive into two subjects that are a couple of favourites of mine. One of those is China, and another one is Hollywood and movies in general. Now, I expect you've heard all about it. Crazy Rich Asians, the film that's taken American box office by storm. That isn't a comic book, isn't a toy, or a remake, or a reboot, or any other such nonsense. No, it's an original work. And as ever, the trusty BBC News. I always just flick through BBC News just to see what nonsense they're coming out with. I have my choice places to look for nonsense, so I can, because I love cutting people down. That's what I like doing. I just love it. I just love slapping people to the ground, you know. Probably shouldn't do that. Made the microphone go funny. I'll try and keep still. Hard to be animated when all the equipment is precarious. So, Crazy Rich Asians underwhelms at Chinese box office. Now, obviously, these days, any film involving some sort of diversity just gets talked about way too much by all kinds of people. It just becomes a nonsense, you know. I mean, it's not really diverse. It's an all Asian cast, so it's not diverse, is it? But anyway, enough of the semantics. But it's like, the point of this article is there really isn't any point. They've just been, overhyping this film. I mean, look, I'll be straight up. I haven't seen it. I did watch the trailer for it. Obviously, I've heard about it. It just looked like a pile of toss. Just looked like the kind of film you'd only watch if you were on a long haul flight. When I flew to New Zealand years ago, I mean, that was like the first flight, 27 hours altogether, 3 different flights. I watched some absolute bullshit. Like, you have way more selection now, but even on the flight over to Thailand, I watched Jurassic World for like an hour, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm just going to go to sleep or get drunk. I did kind of both. But yeah, when I flew to New Zealand, I ended up watching a film called The Sisterhood of the Travelling Pants. I don't know if you've ever seen that film. They even made a sequel. I think it had America, like the girl who was Ugly Betty. I think it's one of her first things. The girl that played Ugly Betty in it, I remember her. She was like the plump one, and then there was a real skinny one. And these magic pants, or trousers as we call them over here, probably in Thailand too, because they're sensible people. Sisterhood of the Travelling Pants. And it was about this pair of pants that 4 friends all fitted into perfectly, and then they all went on the summer holidays. It's so ridiculous explaining the concept of this film if you haven't seen it. It's not really a comedy. It's like one of them real girly films. And then each of them would have the pants for like a few weeks, and they'd post the pants on, and then it was just following these pants to these 4 girls who went all over the world, and and catching up with the adventures of these pants. I mean, it was absolute fucking fluff. It was, but I watched it. I quite like watching girly films sometimes if I'm with girls or on a long haul flight. The point is, that whole story, why Crazy Rich Asians is the sort of thing you'd watch on a long haul flight in 2006. But look, I mean, it did real well. Asians are crazy rich now. Well, Indians and Chinese are crazy rich. But this is like American Asians. A lot of people get confused. Like, I always get confused. Like, in Britain, generally, Asians is like people from India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. That's our Asians. But in America, it's like people from China, Thailand, Japan, East Asia. And I think they're called Southwest Asians or Indians, I'm pretty sure. They're more ignorant than us, basically. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's a whole big point. There's been a lot of focus on Asians in big Hollywood films, more so than black people, more so than any Mexicans or whoever, more so than any other group really. Not sure why. We all know that universities in America are discriminating against Asians, making them get higher test scores to get in. So, but apparently Asians aren't concerned about that. They're more concerned about being in bullshit Hollywood films. Possibly, I don't know. But, I mean, it's done well. Look, it was released 4 months after its US release. That's in China. So how much did it take in America? The film so far made $238 million worldwide. Which comparable to big Hollywood blockbusters, doesn't seem like a lot. But for a film like that isn't based on any previous franchise or, anything like, making that kind of money for a film that's quite niche, I'd say. Niche-ish. I mean, it blatantly is just a rom-com pile of fluff, isn't it? Like, that's what I gathered from it. It's just a pile of fluff. So, it's a breakout hit. But they're sort of surprised that it hasn't done well in China. Now, it was released 4 months after the US release, taking just $1.1 million in its first 3 days in China. The eyebrows may be raised at the fact that Crazy Rich Asians has flopped in the world's largest Asian nation. But it's probably not that much of a surprise. Yeah, it's not. Of course it's not. We'll get into that. I haven't really read through, as usual, the whole article. But I want to see if they get the fucking point. Being released so long after the film came out in other big territories meant the hype and publicity had all but died down. The delayed release isn't particularly unusual for the Chinese market. Films have to go through a censorship process, and there is a quota for foreign films with a limit to 34 movie imports a year. Well, yeah. I mean, that is, and they got mad strict censorship laws. If you want to learn about Chinese movies and why a lot of them aren't very good, apparently. Not Hong Kong films. Hong Kong films are great, but Hong Kong film industry was fantastic. But China, there's a guy on YouTube, you may know him, is called Serpent ZA. He's this South African guy that lives in China. He always vlogs about China. It's really interesting if you want to learn about China. It's always to the point. And he did a video about Chinese films and how they're not great, and there's reasons because of the government, censorship, so on and so forth. But another big factor is that all Asian casts are not as much a novelty in China as they are for the Western market. What? Just like, oh, you think? What, China? The biggest... Why would you even need to write that? But another big factor, all Asian cast isn't a novelty in China. Good God. I thought it'd just be full of Nigerians. Right. The ostentatious wealth displayed in Crazy Rich Asians may also have caused a problem at a time when the Chinese film industry is reducing star salaries and probing alleged tax evasion. I don't think that makes any difference. Comic book blockbuster Aquaman opens this week in China as expected to fare better. Yes, we'll get into that. Crazy Rich Asians was the first major Hollywood film since The Joy Luck Club 25 years ago to feature an all-Asian cast. Also, it was adapted from a book. It tells the story of an Asian American woman who gets a culture shock meeting her boyfriend's ultra-wealthy family in Singapore. That is the article. Yo! Who wrote this? Let's call him out. Does anyone? They even cite who writes this garbage? Look at me using that word. Garbage. Like, who wrote this? Doesn't say. Probably for the best. That's it. Well, I mean, it's not... Are they even Chinese? It's a family in Singapore. Singapore is, I think, majority are ethnically Chinese, but it's not China. Constance Wu plays, well, that's a Chinese name, Wu. So I assume they're Chinese Americans. why do they call it Crazy Rich Chinese? It's like China isn't all Asia. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of it. But see, the point is like, why do they expect it to do well in China? What do the Chinese care about that? And how ignorant is this to think that the delayed release isn't particularly unusual, right? So being released so long after the film came out in other big tour reviews meant the hype and publicity had all but died down. But right, let me just break something down to you. China is very insular. China has their own YouTube. It has their own version of Facebook. It has their own WhatsApp. Right. Anything that we have outside in the non-Chinese world, they have their own version and they don't have ours. Everything's heavily censored. Like, using VPNs is huge in China so they can get access to material. So there's not going to be a hype from the outside world. No, what do you think? Loads of tourists flew into China going, you must watch Crazy Rich Asians. You'd love it because you're Chinese. They look like you, therefore you must. The Chinese ain't interested in this kind of stuff neither. Like, the Chinese market is... Before I get into the Chinese market, it's just... Why did you think it was going to do well in China? It's an American film. It's not... It's like... Right. Here's a country that has a big population, minority population in the UK, which is Indians, who also have one of the biggest film industries in the world, Bollywood, and they turn out film after like shitloads. They make about, I mean, last time I remember it was like 800 films a year. It's probably more now. But apparently Nollywood in Nigeria makes the most. It's over 1,000. Obviously, Nollywood films are like questionable quality, whereas Bollywood films are big. Like, I don't know. In fact, when I flew Oman Airways a few years ago, there was they had like loads of Bollywood films on there, and I flicked through some, and yeah, I was very surprised by the budgets they had. Like big films, big industry. Only surprised by the budget because I'm not sure how much money they actually make, because a lot of Bollywood films, from what I understood, got shown free to pub. I don't know. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, I mean, Bollywood makes big films. China does too as well. They got some big budget films as well, but Bollywood especially. So imagine a country with its own industry and everyone's Indian, and then a film comes out set in Hounslow called, I don't know, Crazy Rich Indians, about culture shock of a Indian girl from fucking West London meeting one of those New Delhi billionaire family and going, oh my god, they're all so rich, oh what a culture shock. Yeah, do you think people in Bollywood, just Bollywood, I think people in India are going to care that much, going, oh, but it's got people like us in it? It's like, no, yeah, but it's not us, is it? It's no, why, do you know what I mean? It's like, God, just shut up. It's like, Asians are the majority of the world, and America thinks that because they've got a film with an all-Asian cast, it's like some sort of great novel film. Some of the greatest films of all time have been made in Asia, right? Watch anything by Kurosawa. Look at Akira Kurosawa, and then you got like Park Chan-wook. I forgot the guy's name. Guy that made Tokyo Story. John Woo. Motherfucker. Crazy Rich Asians. Compared to the Seven Samurai. Tokyo Story. Audition. Fuck you, Hollywood. Are you mad? Why isn't that a big piece of fluff done well in China? Because do you know what does well in China? Actually, now this is according to Wikipedia, so the numbers are going to be off, to say the least. But it will give a fairly accurate portrayal of what is big. Now here we have all the biggest films. So the top 5 are all Chinese. 2 are Chinese and Hong Kong co-productions, and all this stuff is like sort of swords and swords and old stuff, and a lot of stuff is like war films and fantasy stuff. That's pretty much all they make. That's big. And look, the biggest grossing foreign film, which is pretty much American, The Fate of the Furious, which I think is the last Fast and Furious film, Furious 7, Avengers Infinity Wars, Transformers Age of Extinction, Venom, the derided Venom, Kung Fu Yoga. Why have I not heard of that? Jurassic World, The Fallen Kingdom, Transformers Last Night, Zootopia, Animation Warcraft, Avengers Age of Ultron, First Jurassic World, Ready Player One, Avatar, Captain America, Civil War, Mission Impossible Fallout, Coco, don't really know that, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, The Great War, NASA co-production, don't count that, Kong Skull Island, Triple X Return of Xander Cage. Like, it's all fluff, but it's not that kind of fluff. It's not Crazy Rich Asians fluff. It's all big, loud, in your face, blockbuster bullshit. That's what the Chinese want to see, because they don't. That's all they want. There's nothing here like the Meg has done. Do they not get the Chinese market? They have films with the only foreign films they want to see has to have stuff exploding, robots, dinosaurs, and cars. They fucking love cars. They love cars. That's why they only kept making Fast and Furious films because of the Chinese market, because it was making so much money out there, because they love the cars. They love car stuff. That's why Transformers also does well, because they love cars. And they've tried, and Hollywood has done this by trying to put, especially with Star Wars, trying to put like people from, I'm not going to call them Asians, people from like the East Asia, in films to sell it to the Chinese market, and it hasn't worked out. So that girl who's in The Last Jedi, this is going to sound so bad, like as soon as I seen her, I didn't think about anything about diversity. I thought, oh, she's in it because she's Chinese. I don't know if she's I can't remember her name. I think she is Chinese. She's Chinese American, but that was my instant thought was like, oh, the only reason she's in this is because she's Chinese, so they can have, because that's what they think will work. Oh, there's a Chinese person in this, the Chinese will like it. No. And you think that's a bullshit? No, because look at Rogue One. It's got fucking Donnie Yen in it, playing like a blind Jedi, but it's not a Jedi. It's like a fucking kung fu master. Suddenly Jedis are kung fu masters now. Why is Donnie Yen in that? That was just fucking crowbarred in. And there was another East Asian guy. I can't remember. I don't know who that was. It's the only reason it's in it. I'm pretty sure that is why. What's his name? He was in. He has a small role. They have like those Asian boys, those East Asian boys on that spaceship. They catch Han Solo in The Force Awakens. And what's his name? Not Tony Jaa. He's Thai. The Indonesian guy who's in The Raid. That kind of thing. I can't remember his name. But he's in that for a brief second, and someone else. Like they just keep throwing in Chinese people because they think the Chinese want to see other Chinese. But they don't. Clearly, look. They want to see fucking just cars and shit. Stuff blowing up. Massive monsters are huge. The Meg, Transformers, that's pretty much Resident Evil. I didn't even notice that. Resident Evil Final Chapter. That's the mad good out compared to all the others, like Kong Skull Island. Do you see what they're into? Oh look, there's one Indian film that's done quite well. So about biographical sports drama film directed by Nitish Tiwari and produced. That looks like a drama. Oh, fair play. Maybe that's Well, that's an anomaly. Because look, I mean, Monster Hunt 2. I mean, look, come on, like, if Crazy Rich Asians had fucking a massive robot monster, a Ferrari exploding, you know, some epic fight scenes, loads of CGI. If it was called Crazy Killer Asians, you know, or Crazy Robot Asians, or Crazy Monster Asians, man, it would have cleaned up. Billions of yuan. By the way, this is all in yuan, in case you think this is billions in dollars, and we're like, why haven't I heard about this being the most grossing film of all time? 5 billion yuan. So, you know, try again, would you?